Last week, I made a LinkedIn post that got hundreds of thousands of impressions, thousands of comments, and is about to generate me six figures. I've been posting on LinkedIn consistently for about a year, and last week when I posted this post and saw it going viral, I took a few minutes to create a Loom video for our clients breaking down exactly how I used AI and my entire thought process behind the entire post. Now, when I was looking back at the video and getting so many good responses and comments back from our clients, I thought, hey, there's enough for us to all win. Let me post this video on YouTube. So you're about to see that exact Loom video that I made to send to our clients. I'm about to post it here on YouTube. So I know there's only gonna be probably around like 200 of you guys that even see it. I hope out of the 200, there's at least one that take these processes and try them on LinkedIn. Let me know how it goes. Let's get into the video. I just wanted to document one of these LinkedIn posts that is going super viral. I didn't even want to wait to jump on a call or anything. I wanted to just document the entire process around kind of like what's going on, some of my initial thoughts before I get into this workday, and exactly like how I wrote out this post. I think this is going to be helpful. If not for anyone else, it's going to be helpful for me to just even reflect so that I can keep going through this process. There's also something super interesting about this post. I used AI to help me. And so I also want to show you guys how I leveraged AI to help me with this post. So let's get into it. Whenever I'm about to sit down and write, I think I've gone through this process with you guys before. I'll sit down and I list out like all the things that I want to do. Sometimes I have like a general framework that I'll go after. So like on Tuesdays, I generally will do those posts about other people that need 1 million followers and highlight folks. And then some other days I'll do something else. But for this month of February, I don't know if you guys saw this, but earlier this month, probably on February 1st, I posted that the rest of this month I was going to be, like highlighting Black stories and leveraging my platform to talk about like all things Black history and different things like that. And so yesterday was Monday, and for the sake of this recording, it was the day after the Super Bowl. This Super Bowl featured the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, and Kendrick Lamar was performing at halftime. And so when I sat down to write and just think through what I want to write, I just listed a bunch of things. I want to call this out because I'm about to show you guys some like AI and some systems I use, but I'm very intentional first, or even throughout this whole process, with what I'm trying to say, right? I'm only using these AI tools as like a sparring partner, as somebody that can like take my ideas, take how I want to flow, and go back and forth. I enter into the space of AI and all these things, knowing exactly what I want to say and knowing what I want to communicate. And so again, today I was like, let's do something trending, right? Generally, I'll have like either an educational post, right? A trending post. Again, I'll do the stories of other people. I'll do a personal story, and then I'll do like a client highlight. So those are generally like my types of buckets that I'll go in. So today I was like, all right, let's just go trending, right? Sometimes you'll see one of these lists of mine and I'll play around with different topics and like see where I want to land, right? So I don't constrict myself too much, but I do have a general idea of the buckets that I write about and the things that I put out, and then I figure out where to go from there. And so today, or yesterday, I was like, let's do this trending post. And I was like, obviously everybody's talking about the Super Bowl since it happened last night. So like, what are all the things that we could talk about that I want to talk about from the Super Bowl, right? So there is like Kendrick. I could talk about Kendrick and all the different angles. There's probably even one here that could have been like performed for free, symbolism, right? But I knew the things that, or the topics that I was thinking about with Kendrick. I had an angle around the Chiefs versus Eagles, like the white team versus the black team, and how that was, playing out. Just Jalen Hurts and his all-female team was where I was going with this one. Serena Drake, Samuel L. Jackson, it being a blowout. I'm a Detroit Lions fan, so I had some stories or an angle I could have went there. I felt if there was a economy boost to New Orleans, I put a question mark here because I didn't know. And so then this will require me to do some research, right? Which I'll show you guys my entire research process. If you look into my writing, one of the biggest things that I love to do is put stats and research. And so again, after I go through this deep dive and this dump of what I maybe wanted to talk about, I'll then pick something, right? So here at the bottom, you can see like when I was like, okay, I'll just do Serena. And then I write out like my angle. What's my angle here? What do I want to say? Now, a couple reasons why I picked Serena off of my like deep dive list. And some people are able to make a list like this in their head. I'm a person that just has to write to start getting it out. Sometimes I do this handwritten. But the reason I did this is because after I looked at this list, I'm like, what is the most unique angle that I don't see people talking about, right? Um, Obviously, there was a few of these, but I was like, I don't really see a lot of people making whole like think pieces. A lot of people were talking about Serena doing the crip walk thing, but again, when it comes to stuff that's trending, we need to take a different take than what else is already out there, unless we're the first movers. Now, when it's something trending and we're the first movers on it, it's gonna blow up, right? I had some like peers in the space were some of the first movers to talk about Kendrick and the symbolism, and they were sitting there writing stuff up during the Super Bowl. I'm not one of those people, and so understanding that I was coming in a little late to the party, I needed to find something that was trending, but still stood out, right? And still aligned with who I am, the message that I want to put out in the world. So I came up with Serena, and then I was like, let's do, excuse me, let's do the angle of Black women showing up as them and juxtapose it with the Wimbledon Crip Walk. Now, I knew about the Wimbledon Crip Walk. It was coming up in conversations that I was talking about. But I also knew a lot of people didn't know about the Wimbledon Crip Walk. My grandma is a big tennis fan, and I just remember when that happened. Um, so that, and then I was like, let's do a CTA to make more spaces where women can do this. Imagine what happens. By do this, I mean like be themselves, be free, right? And so now I have basically the framework and the messaging of my post. I want to talk about Serena and this crip walk. I want to juxtapose it with her experience at Wimbledon. And that's probably going to give me my area of opportunity for my research, since I like research. I'm not saying that anybody needs to do stats and numbers. That's just a form and format. So the thing that we were talking about, frameworks, that's a framework that works for me and my style. I was like, okay, this is going to give us, the area to give some stats. And then I always, as we all should, we have to make a takeaway for the viewer, right? Or the consumer. Whether it's a reel or a written post, there needs to be some sort of takeaway. So I said CTA here. I don't really mean CTA. That's just how my brain worked. But I mean, like, what's the takeaway? Like, what's the message that I need to leave the viewer with or the consumer with? Every piece of content that we put out in this space, if we are trying to be intentional, needs to have some sort of benefit for the viewer, whether that's entertainment, whether that's education, whether that's, a think, whether that's spiritual, whatever it is, it needs to have some sort of takeaway for the viewer. All right, so that is my first process. That's process number one. Again, I do all this thinking before I enter the AI space. And so after I have my angle, I now go into AI. And I use Claude for this. If you don't know what Claude is, it's just very similar to ChatGPT. So you can use ChatGPT as well. I go back and forth between them. And again, this is my day job, right? So if you already have ChatGPT, you don't need Claude. Like, I'm sure ChatGPT would have given me something similar, because of how much intention I put into these tools, right? And so what a lot of people do would just come in here and be like, I want to write a post about Serena Williams or something, right? That is not what I did. You can first see how long my initial post is, or my initial prompt is, right? So let's read this. Last night was a Super Bowl and Kendrick Lamar performed. I need to give it some education, right? I want to make a LinkedIn post about the performance, but more specifically Serena Williams, since everyone today is talking about Kendrick Lamar. Here's some background. Serena Williams was showed as a cameo doing the crip walk. Here's some articles about it. And I pasted in some articles, which for Claude, it does it like this. Sometimes ChatGPT will just show the articles. But I went out, I did my research, I found certain articles that I liked. I spent about 20 minutes finding articles that had enough information about Wimbledon and Serena Williams. I went back and I searched the Wimbledon articles that came out about it, right? And so I fed the information all here. I did not rely on this thing to find the information. I spent 20 minutes looking for the articles because, again, I knew the angle that I wanted to take. I knew what I needed. Right? So I said, here's some articles about it, and I pasted them in, which you can see here. They're pasted up there. I would like to take the angle of comparing her crip walk to when she was at Wimbledon and the freedom Black women are feeling to be themselves, or at least we are seeing that expression of how Black folks are just taking up space and showing up for themselves. Also, Serena was Drake's ex, and he dissed her. So the fact that she is standing up and clapping back is powerful. Again, I'm just using all my own words. I'm not trying to be too fancy here. But again, I'm understanding the things that I want to include. Now, I don't think I even included Drake in this final version, but I was like, I want to still include Drake because everybody's talking about Drake. And so that's why I threw that line in there. My audience on LinkedIn are CEOs and executive, and here's a post that they liked recently, which will also give you a sense of my writing style. And so you'll see at the bottom of this, I dropped in my LinkedIn post that I made recently, right? So you can see my style, my writing, how I write, my formatting, all that stuff. Let's see what you come up with. This is my first prompt, right? Look how much information and intention I go in here with. I know what I want to write. I'm now just using you to help me just structure it all, structure the story. I keep saying this, but I need y'all to hear me. I did not go on ChatGPT or Claude or any DeepSeek or anything, right? I did not come here and say, I want to just make a LinkedIn post about Serena Williams. I came in here, I understood the angle that I wanted to do, saw the framework that I wanted to have. I found the points of research that I needed, right? And I fed it basically everything. And I fed it examples of how I like to talk. In my writing, I also said this after I didn't even know I said this in the first one. Jesus, look at this first prompt, y'all. In my writing, I like to include stats and also storytelling, short sentences and formatted easy to read on mobile, right? Again, that's my style and my framework. How do I know this works for me? Because I've been doing this for a year now. I've had enough reps to know generally what works for me, and I'm still just getting started, right? Also, here's some more articles about Serena, right? And so I copied in some articles about Serena. You can see here, look at all the research I popped in, right? So there we go. There's about probably like 10 articles attached to this first prompt. There's my examples of how I write in this first post. There's the framework that I want to go through, right? Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to say. Here's the angle that I want to come up with. Here's everything. Now just format it for me, right? Again, work. I put about, probably before I even made it here, like I did 20 minutes of research. I probably did 30 minutes of intentional like back and forth with my own self, with my own brain before I came here, right? Again, I think about this much more as like a tool or an assistant than like my brain. Like we need to think, we need to put on our thinking caps, and then we use these tools to help us just put it all together. So then they came up with a draft. And if you guys know my writing style, this is pretty similar to like my writing style, these short sentences, right? So last night, Serena Williams Crypt blah blah blah. So it gave me the first one. I didn't really love how bulky that text was for me. And then I don't really do hashtags, you know. So now I send it back. I like this as a base. Let's make this maybe more of an angle of creating space for Black women to fully show up and be themselves. Or an angle about how it's funny that at Wimbledon she was criticized, but then here at the Super Bowl she's celebrated. And maybe an idea that men are able to be petty and show emotion, but women on their own aren't and have to remain respectful. We don't have to make the post super targeted to leaders. We can make it funny, witty, powerful, something that people would enjoy reading. Maybe on the feedback, maybe have feedback on and feel like is good writing and is backed up with opinions. Make them think and research number stats, in quotes, spelling errors, right? And so I keep giving them like where I want to go. I'm only able to push back and spark because I know where I want to take this, right? I'm only able to be like, this isn't where I wanted to go with it because I thought about this before. If I didn't think about this before and it fed this back to me, it would start leading me down another hole, right? But I know what I want to do with this, and this wasn't it, right? So you can see here, I keep going back and forth with it, right? I keep going back and forth with it. I keep giving it my thoughts. I keep directing it, right? Whenever I like it, I'm like, I like this. I would like to sort of cite sources for these stats because I like to always double check any stats that I put out there. So I want to cite the sources. So it gave me that. Boom. Okay, so now I feel like I got a base. At this point, I have a good base. And again, I'm able to have a good base because of the intention. So as you can see here, now I'm like, okay, I need these lines a bit more punchy. Something that causes the reader to feel like they need to see more. Sometimes I like to use confusion or contradiction or curiosity to solve this. I've told you guys this before, I like to use some sort of emotion to cause somebody to click see more. So now that I have my base, I'm now pressure testing Claude to give me a better 2 lines, right? It gave me the 2 lines. I know because I used my brain that these 2 lines aren't punchy enough, right? If somebody saw this Serena Williams crit walk at the Super Bowls last night, the Sundance had white media clutching their pearls in Wimbledon at 2012. Like, you don't need to click see more to see where that article is going, right? You know where the article, it tells you what the article, what my post is gonna say. And so you don't need to click see more. You would just keep scrolling, right? You kind of get it. And so for me, I like to use my 2 posts to click you to see more, right? I don't want you to keep scrolling past my post. So I pressure tested to do 2 more lines for me. It gave me some options. I wasn't sold on those options again because I know what works. I write myself, right? And I think that's the other thing I have to call out here is that most of my writing is done by myself. And so I know what works because I put in the reps. I didn't put in the reps starting with this thing. Same thing for video, right? Now I can really use this thing super powerful because I know, like, I have the brain, I have the reps to know it works. So it gave me some few more options, and then I just ended up giving it an option, right? So I was just like, let's do this one, and I came up with my 2 lines, right? I didn't like what it was giving me. It wasn't punchy enough, whatever. So I was like, let's do these 2 lines. I came up with it, right, as you guys can see here. And then I said, can you format this now? Like, here's my 2 lines. Can you format it? And so that's another thing. I don't like AI being like enough in my speed of writing where it can come up with good hooks and stuff. Hooks are the #1 thing in writing, and in video, right? And so it still wasn't there for me yet, so I needed to come up with that on my own. If I didn't have those skills to come up with it on my own, I wouldn't have come up with it, right? So I took my 2 lines basically and just made it into the actual post. And then I read through it, right? And I pressure tested some sentences. And so I didn't like the sentence that it gave me. It didn't match my flow or what I would say there. And so I asked them to give me some more options for that specific sentence. You guys can see how much attention people would have just been done at the first thing that it gave it. I'm really going back and forth with this thing. So I don't want it to say this. Again, I knew what I was trying to say. So I didn't want it to even have this little tone. And this is a line that most people wouldn't even read. This line came at the end of the post, but I didn't like it. So you can see I keep going back and forth. And then I just end up writing it kind of myself. I like this one. And then after that, let's make the rest of it flow. So I wrote that line out myself. And then I pressure test the last line, right? I feel like it's missing some context. So then I give it back a structure that I actually like, as you can see. And then we finally get to a place where I'm like, okay, let me just finish out this post on my own. So if we come here, I actually took whatever Claude gave me, and then I did my final edits. So you can see that Claude kind of gave me the base, or at least I gave it the base. It gave me a framework, and then you can see that this post is probably 20% different than what we came up with in Claude. And that's because then I took it and then I edited it for my own framework. This post, even with AI, still took me about an hour, probably an hour and a half to make this, right? That was my entire process. Do my research or do my first deep dive, then do my research, then use Claude as a sparring partner, and then come over here and make my final edits, right? Focus on hook and the story and stats and quotes, right? And citing my sources, and then a nice ending and a good picture to hook. Let's refresh this so we can see. This post has been up for about 20 hours. I think I posted it around noon. Or here we go, 19 hours. Yeah. I posted it around noon yesterday. It's currently 8 a.m. on Tuesday, the next day. And we can see this post is around like 2 million impressions, 60,000 interactions, 1,000 some likes, almost 3,000 reposts. And I should tell you guys that this post has now generated me around 5,000 followers. Yesterday, I was at 14,900 followers. Today, I'm at 19,900 followers, right? And I can show you guys this. Let's see. This is the most followers I've ever gotten in a day. Let's show the analytics. Let's see if we can see the spike. Show you guys the spike. Right. So you guys can see 4,260 new followers. I believe it's going to probably total out as around 5,000 followers. And that is the most followers that I've ever gotten. I can show you guys. Let's show you. Just so look at this. The most followers that I've ever gotten in a day. I hope you guys can see that. This is looking over the past year. All right. So generally I would get like, here we can see 50. Over here is when I started to really start like nailing LinkedIn around this time. I'm getting maybe 100 followers some days. I got 600 followers this day. A post went viral on that day. I got 500 followers on this day. A post probably went viral on that day. 400, right? You get a lot when you hit these viralities, but 600 followers in a day was the most I ever gotten. Now we just jumped so quickly. And again, I think there's some learning about this post as to why it's working. And I think it was trending. Everybody's just talking about it. It has a good hook. Here, as you can see, here's what people see before they click 2 more. 12 years ago, this dance almost cost her reputation. Last night at the Super Bowl, it made her, and you don't even know what comes next. It says legend next, but you have to click see more to see that. So it's super hooky. The picture is super hooky. You want to click see more no matter who you are, right? So when you click see more, that signals to the platform, okay, Casey must have wrote something good. So many people are clicking see more. Then a lot of people interact with it, repost it, right? And so I think there's a few reasons why it's working well, but I think most importantly, it was trending, right? Everybody was talking about so many things with the Super Bowl. And yeah, the last thing I want to show you guys is that the other day, and one of the things I was going to talk to you guys about this week was the other day I updated like my lead magnet, right? I have a lead magnet on here. Where is it at? It's here. Build the brand that sets you free in just 5 days. It's something that we're literally still working on. I just put it up, I think on Friday, and we haven't even like finalized it. So now I have to spend some time finalizing it today. But we have this lead magnet in here. So not only did I get 5,000 followers, I think we're up to, let's see, maybe a couple hundred leads. Let me get the number for you guys. 363 leads, right? So we're also collecting, luckily I have that thing up. So we're also collecting, lead magnets as well. And probably towards the end of this week, once this post starts dying down, I'll have Kissy kind of like start messaging some people and getting our target audience and getting them on our email list. So LinkedIn is great because you can see their job titles and all that. So we'll probably go through and find founders, CEOs, leaders, and start messaging them to get them also on the list. So that'll probably take us weeks to go through all those people. But so yeah, I just wanted to break down kind of like my thought process and frameworks and ideas that all went into making that post. Again, this is my most viral post ever on LinkedIn, as you guys could see. And it's also bringing in the most amount of followers I've ever gotten in a day, and also the most leads, organic leads, right? We just added almost 400 people to our email list, all for free, all for me putting in the reps over time, right? A year of just putting in intentional reps on LinkedIn, figuring out what works for me, what style works for me, and then leveraging AI to help me package it all together. So hope this is helpful. If you guys want me to break down more of my writing process or LinkedIn, let me know. And I'm going to keep you guys updated throughout the week as well. Peace, y'all.